Hey guys, welcome back. It's been quite a while. It's long overdue. It's a 2020 collection video. A lot has changed since the last time. It's been, I think, almost 2 years. So I've sold a lot of stuff. I've moved around my collection, refocused, and got a lot of new things. So I thought this would be a great time to be able to share with you guys, because my collection at this point is pretty much done. I might, add some things here and there, but I feel really happy with what I got. And I'm gonna start over here, show you guys. So one of the things that I took up during quarantine is retro gaming. So I bought an old Super Nintendo and Genesis, and I went back and bought all the old games that I grew up with playing and some of the stuff I missed. And I've been going through beating old games with a friend of mine. So it's stuff that, I wasn't good enough as a kid to beat, but now just kind of I'm able to put more time in and strategize and beat some old games. So that's been really, really fun. Go over here, it's just kind of a collection of art books. As some of you guys might know, I'm an artist as well. And here's a collection of some of the art books. There's a 6-scale figure, K2SO from Rogue One. Just some records, and I have had to move some of my statues out here. So this is kind of like the Dynamite and Dark Horse kind of independent comic section. So we have this red Sonja. This is sculpted by Steve Lord for Sideshow Collectibles. It's a really, really awesome piece. Here is a Vampirella. This is an old school piece. I think from like 2010 or so. You see it's really nice though. It's got tons of style to it. And here is one of my favorite pieces of my collection still. Also one of my favorite characters ever, which is Hellboy. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to. This Vampirella was sculpted by Mark Newman. And this Hellboy is sculpted by Matt Black. And these are all Sideshow pieces. This is a really awesome piece though, and I've talked about it in my past videos, but it doesn't go for that much. So it's, if you're a fan of either statues or Hellboy, to me it's a must-have statue. Here's another red Sonja, and this is by Will Harbottle for Sideshow Collectibles. This one's really, really awesome. Cutting open a snake. Now I'm gonna go through these statues and pretend like you guys haven't seen them before and then you haven't watched previous videos, so I'll just kind of go over each piece again for maybe some of you that are new to collecting or new to my videos. This is a Hellboy bust by Sideshow Collectibles. It's a really old piece and it's a replica of the the pitch sculpt for what they used for the original Hellboy movie to convince them to use Ron Perlman and to pitch the film. It's a really cool piece because it feels like real art and you wouldn't even know that it's a comic book, collectible. All right, so now we step into the main room. All right, you'll see, got some new stuff here. Got our arcade unit. Move my display around a bit. Got a lot of new pieces and some comic books, and I'll kind of show you guys this stuff in a second. One of the main things I did was kind of really try to focus on the stuff that I really loved and grew up with, and that was mainly X-Men. I mean, it was a really huge influence on my life growing up, and it's one of the reasons why I became an artist and why I'm so into this stuff. So this is kind of what I really wanted to focus this room on was kind of everything that, all the nostalgia and all the childhood love that I had, all the stuff I loved, all in one room. So, this is my office as well. So as I'm working, I'm kind of just surrounded by all the things that I love. Here you go, this over here. This is a piece by Prime One. It is Frank Miller, Dark Knight, Batman. It's a 3rd scale piece. It's really massive, has tons of presence. could step back. It's like, you know, taller than a life-size bust. These are life-size busts. It's by Sideshow Collectibles, sculpted by Ryan Peterson. This is my favorite bust. I mean, Venom is one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite. And this to me just captures him perfectly. So as a Venom fan, for anybody, I'd feel like this is worth the money for you to, even if you don't have a lot of collectibles, this is one you should have. Because it has a lot of impact, so when people come over, this is something that always stands out. Here's a Deadpool, also sculpted by Ryan Peterson. It's by Sideshow Collectibles. Huge, huge fan of this piece too. It really feels like it's come to life. And it kind of captures Deadpool perfectly. No political talk about my sign in the background. I don't want any of that. We all have our different opinions and stuff, so just talking statues and comics. And then here is the Hulk, also sculpted by Ryan Peterson. It's a really awesome piece. It's one of the things that actually look way better in person. I think, you know, the expression is very like extreme, and it's in photos sometimes it can like, you can't really understand how good it looks in person. But this one, it's really huge and it's very menacing. We're gonna scroll down here. Here's some of my comic books. So I really wanted to focus, rather than just buy be a completionist and buy every comic book that I could. I really wanted to focus on the characters that I loved and try to, you know, get the ones that were somewhat affordable and the issues and characters that meant the most to me. So this is Wolverine and Sabretooth's first appearance. And here, these are cards. Growing up, I actually didn't read a lot of comic books, mostly because it was too expensive to buy comics. So what I would do is I would collect trading cards, and on the back, they would have information on them. And that's how I learn about my characters that I grew up with and learn their powers and their origins and storylines and stuff like that. So these mean a ton to me, more so than the comic books do. And this is just the X-Men. It's from the Marvel Series 3 set, which is my favorite. Down here, this is Gambit's first appearance. This is Rogue's first appearance. It's not the best looking cover ever. Down here, these are just different cards from more sets that I grew up with collecting. I really wanted to focus on just the sets that meant something to me. So down here is Marvel Masterpiece Series 1, which was, you know, really expensive, like, I don't know, like $5 a pack growing up. But the card art just really stood out from the pack, and it was just really amazing looking stuff. Where goes that? Here's my collection of Venom cards. These are just during that time period that I collected cards. These are all the depictions of him throughout the different card series. And here is the first appearance of Venom. And then this 6-scale diorama is sculpted by the Shiflett brothers for Bowen Collectibles. It's an old piece, but it has really awesome just energy and gesture to it. It just feels like it's alive. And plus it's small enough to kind of fit in this display together. Here's the big boys. Here's X-Men #1, and then giant size X-Men. And for those of you that don't know, this is obviously the first appearance of the X-Men on the left, and on the right is when it was rebooted. And then a lot of the characters that we know and love today were first appeared in this issue, like Colossus and Nightcrawler. And it's kind of like what the X-Men that we know now growing up started there. I really love these, and these are from the X-Men Series 1 set. And I actually didn't know about these until I got older. And there was these cards in there that were hand signed by Jim Lee. And there wasn't many of them. I want to say like 1,000 or something. So they're really, really rare. And once I found out about them, I searched high and low and was able to get the set. Those are really awesome. And then down here is the first appearance of Deadpool and first appearance of Cable. Yeah. So they represented the 90s, man. Guns and swords. Lots of, like, I don't know, hip pouches and packs and everything. All right, so now to more statues. Here we go. This is Juggernaut by Sideshow Collectibles, sculpted by Will Harbottle. This thing is really badass. I think it looks awesome in photos and it looks fantastic in person too. It's really a showstopper. Every single person that comes over is pretty amazed by this piece and is always one of their favorites, even non-comic book fans. Down here is Cable. He was one of my favorite characters growing up. This is sculpted by Martine Canale. To me, this depicts Rob Liefeld's art exactly, the giant oversized muscles and the colors and all the pouches. It just represents the 90s to me. It's perfect. Down here is Sabretooth, also sculpted by Martine Canale, and Wolverine by Martine Canale. So this Sabretooth is new, and this just came out, I think, over the past year. Really badass. There is a switch out head too, but I like this one. And this is a really old Wolverine premium format that I just really like this classic suit, and I really love the statue still. The kind of the blend of having some of the old sort of original Sideshow pieces along with the new stuff, I just kind of like that mix. I'm not going to necessarily talk about like how good something is in comparison or ranked in my collection, because at this point I've kind of thinned out all the stuff that I don't like. Everything here I love, and I really don't ever want to sell unless I have to make space. So everything is awesome. This one here is the Sentinel Maquette by Sideshow Collectibles. It's really cool. You can see how big it is. It's like equivalent to like a 3rd scale. This is the only Sentinel statue out there. This is Logan by Sideshow Collectibles, sculpted by Daniel Bell. This one's awesome, man. Feels like he's alive. Big fan of this piece. Sorry about the glare. So one of the changes from the last time you guys were, my last videos, I have these plexiglass protectors on the front of everything. Just because at some point, man, that the dust started to get unmanageable. Everything was starting to get way too dusty, and I just left it. And after putting these on, I just really think it elevated the sort of how expensive stuff looked. It just made everything look nicer, and the fact that I don't have to dust anymore is a big advantage. You can see just the way the light reflects and everything feels kind of like a comic book nerd museum. And the way I did it, actually, for anybody that's interested, is I got custom cut, these are all Ikea shelves, but I got custom cut mirrors for the backs and then the bottoms. I cut them to size. And then I also got these custom cut plexiglass. And then I went through some trial and error on it. Actually, the first time I just did Velcro, thinking that it would like look really slick, but then the Velcro wasn't holding. So eventually I had to do screws to hold it in, but I'm not switching out my statues very often at all, so it's actually, because it's locked into place, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't make it difficult. And up here is Magneto by Sideshow Collectibles. Will Harbottle sculpted this one. He's floating above a ripped up Sentinel head. Really love this piece. I did do some repainting on him just to kind of punch up the reds and the purples just to the way that I like it, because I have a specific sort of Jim Lee era nostalgia for him, so that's the way I see him, so I wanted to match those colors. Down here is a Storm, sculpted by Mark Newman. And then this Mystique, which I actually can't remember the sculptor on this. I think it was Steve Lord. Yeah, I'll kind of zoom in a little bit. Yeah, she's standing on top of a destroyed Xavier School emblem with an X-23 arm. Big fan of that piece. Love the Storm too, it's old school, but I just really like the feel of it. Psylocke by Sideshow Collectibles. No, I can't remember the name, but Maria sculpted this. It's really awesome. And you know, one of the things for just display purposes, one of the reasons why I have these mirrors is the way it reflects light and then bounces light back up, it creates different lighting. And to me, it lights up the statue better. And if you just have it all black, a lot of times it kind of soaks up the light and things can look really dark instead of a black shelf. But this just opens it up so it feels bigger. Also, you get to see the back of the statue, which is great. Here's Jean Grey, sculpted by Mark Newman, and also Cyclops, sculpted by Mark Newman. See the theme, all X-Men? Yeah, I love these. It's perfect 90s X-Men. Over here, we got a Daniel Bell sculpted this Colossus. Standing on this destroyed Danger Room trap. Love, love, love that piece. Here's Domino. This one is sculpted by Guillermo Barbero. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing names. Yeah, big fan of this one. I really loved Domino growing up. I think just like a, you know, cool assassin chick with guns. Here's my non-X-Men section. It's Punisher Maquette, which is really old piece from like 2008 or 2007, sculpted by Martine Canali, and then also a Red Skull, sculpted by Martine Canali. These they don't fit my theme of X-Men, but I love these pieces. I don't think I'm ever gonna get rid of these, so. I like the fact that they represent a different time of Sideshow too. Just the way statues were different back then. Here is Gambit Maquette. In the Danger Room. It's one of my favorite characters growing up. This is sculpted by Will Harbottle. Love this piece. Really feel the movement and the energy in it. Let's see. Here, this is Rogue. Also one of my favorite characters growing up. This is by Sideshow, also sculpted by Will Harbottle. Love how she's confident and cocky. She's connected just by her arm there, floating and flying. It's really badass. Up here, my favorite bad guy, one of my favorite characters all time, is Apocalypse, sculpted by Martine Canali. Yeah, I'm never selling this one. This one will stay with me forever. Love this piece. Go down to my last X-Men piece. Here you go. This is X23. This is sculpted by Dan Ulrich by Sideshow Collectibles. Yeah, this one's really cool. Here's an old one. An old quote-unquote grail piece. This is Dr. Doom. And up here is some Avengers. Got Black Widow. Sculpted by Guillermo Barbero. And then the Thor, I actually can't remember the Thor and Iron Man who they're sculpted by. They're a little older. Kind of got them up high. Then we'll start over here. This is actually, you know what? Let me back up. Let me not get there yet. Let me finish off these statues. This is let's see here. Spider-Man by Martin Canali. This is the perfect Spider-Man to me. I don't need another one. I love this piece. And Venom and Carnage Maquettes, also by Martin Canali. These are two of my favorite statues of all time. And if you just look at it, the texture up on there. Hulk premium format. This is also one of my favorite statues ever. This is sculpted by Andy Bergholtz. And Captain America, sculpted by Martin Canali. It's old school piece. And Hawkeye, I do not know who sculpted that, so sorry if I'm leaving anybody out. And Galactus. Silver Surfer there. That's my representation of Silver Surfer, is that little guy. Then here, just got some, I don't know what scale, I think seventh scale, but just anime figures, stuff I grew up loving, fighting game girls, Chun-Li and Morrigan. And here's some different characters from some PlayStation Vita games that I was really into for a while. These are Hellboy figures by Mezco. This is actually what I collected before I got into statues. And I'm just a really, really big Hellboy fan. Read all the graphic novels. And just some more anime figures down here. All right, I think that's it for the statues. Last thing I got here is just this Batman vs Superman. Sculpted by Steve Lord. Yeah. And then this is just where I do my work. It's my workstation over here. Here's some original art that I got hung up. It's Ben Oliver, it's Wolverine. And this is a original Pepe Larraz sketch. He currently draws X-Men. Actually, I don't know if he does anymore. No, I think he still does. I'm a big, big fan of his work. For those of you guys that know, this is a X-Men custom arcade cabinet. So there's all the different games we grew up with as kids are in there, but I have X-Men running right now. But I have this set up for, like, you know, when my friends come over, you can have some drinks, play some old video games. Really love this thing. But I wanted to get it to mimic it so it looked just like the X-Men arcade I grew up with. See, the coin door doesn't operate, but. So yeah, I'll show you guys some of this art, and then I'll kind of give you an overview of the rest of the room. But that's a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 poster, was one of my favorite games growing up. Me and my friends in high school used to stay up all night playing that game. Tons and tons of hours into it. So it's a big part of my teenage and childhood. Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't have any statues of them, so I wanted some representation. So I got that print by Gabriel Delato. Really big fan of that. So, some Studio Ghibli movies. Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, and Castle in the Sky. There's some original art by Eric Canetti. It's a Harley, and this one's really awesome. I really like this piece a lot, which is sort of like different evolutions of Iron Man. Here's an original Venom I commissioned him to do for me. Over here. It's an original Travis Charest. And it's just Mike Mignola, this piece of art that I really love. The X-Force. And some other posters. And this is new. This is just a collection of all the video games that I grew up with playing. And then, like I said earlier, I went back and bought a lot of stuff that I kind of missed out on growing up, but that are really good games. So I'm playing them now. So N64, I played tons of Smash Brothers growing up. Like I said, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Super Nintendo is one of my favorite systems of all time. So is Genesis. I got tons of Genesis games. PlayStation. Symphony of the Night. Castlevania's top 3 video game for me all time. And so is Final Fantasy VII. So I got prime display space there. I'm a really big fan of Resident Evil games too, so some of those. And then those are the rest of my games. I also grew up with, playing Neo Geo and TurboGrafx and stuff, so kind of wanted to show that off. Like I said, this room is all about just everything that I love, so I think having a mixture of like video games and comic books and statues just kind of really makes me feel like a big kid all the time. And just kind of back up a little bit, show you guys kind of a slow pan. Actually, that reminds me, let me show you guys this. There's no rhyme or reason to how I'm doing this video. I'm just kind of sharing. So this is a X-Men 1 when they rebooted back in like the mid-90s, when it blew up. But this is autographed by everybody. It's not an expensive comic book at all. There's probably like 10 million of these out there. But this one is a 9.8 and it is signed by the writers and the inkers and the artists and everything. So it's pretty cool. And then that's just the first appearance of Apocalypse. Which, like I said before, is one of my favorite characters. Yeah, let me show you guys everything. My games. Statues. Just different prints up there. Ghost in the Shell is one of my favorite animes. All the different X-Men and Street Fighter games that I grew up with. Ninja Turtles as well. Down below here is all the Wizard magazines that I had growing up. So I never threw these out, thank God. And it is just, like I said, I started collecting them around like the 30s. And I stopped when it was about 100 or so. But I cherish these things because, when I couldn't afford comic books growing up, I would just read magazines, Wizard magazine instead, and it would have tons of art in it. It would tell me what's going on. So those mean a lot to me. And I also kind of have these things. These are kind of new. These are Mondo Pins. It's me getting sucked into buying more shit I don't need. But I just got super into collecting these. So I would put these on my lanyard when I went to San Diego Comic-Con. It's kind of showing off my nerddom. Here's all the Marvel movies. Kind of do a quick pan of all the stuff that I already showed you guys. here are different comic books that I read. All the ones that I really loved. And these are all the comic book cards that I grew up with. I just keep them in these different binders. A lot of these binders are the exact binders I had growing up, so it's like, you know, I don't know, 30 years old now. So my Hellboys, Walking Dead. Yeah, at this point, I think I'm just waiting for, you know, more X-Men. As Sideshow does more of them, I'm gonna buy them. Just kind of get a better view of stuff now farther away. Those are cool lights, and these are warm lights on the statues. The lights, they don't sell them anymore. I used to buy those at Ikea, but they're just warm Ikea lights. Let's see my collection, is it back up? Yeah. So anyways, that is my collection. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys for watching the video, and I hope I sucked you into buying a ton of shit. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, all that kind of stuff, and